College football is back, and we're back live on the Big Mountain.
Welcome back to the Big Mountain for another live episode. I am JY. This is my good friend Steve. And Steve, you didn't say live last time.
I know. I let you down.
I didn't think about it until we watched the beginning of our episode. And I went, he didn't say live.
Yeah.
But that's okay.
I had to tickle your fancy this week.
I make mistakes all the time, so it's all good. Hey, welcome back to another live episode. We are going to start with our picks, as we always do. I know we've got a lot of people coming on. We like to just slow play it here in the beginning, make sure people get their notifications, they get ready to go on. We got Anthony Brack. How you doing? We got Tommy Gunn, huge game this week. Friday night, UNLV in Boise. I just did, you heard me say this several times, Tommy, and any other Boise and UNLV fans. I just recorded a preview of that game. Steve unfortunately couldn't make it, so it's me and Aiden Pedersen. He is the Boise writer for the MWC Connection. You can find them on YouTube, or I think it's mwcconnection.com. It's where they have all their articles and stuff. Really cool stuff. Some good stuff on there. So he and I do a deep dive preview into what I am calling the biggest G6 game of the entire season.
Absolutely, and maybe for the last decade, really.
It's going to be a fantastic game. Yeah. So I know we got Kyle, we got Squeeze Money, we got Spencer, I got missing some people, Big Mama, I know we got everybody else on. So welcome back to the mountain. Steve asked for us to go 75% on our locks, and we went.
We did it.
75% on our locks.
That needs to be the standard every week.
Standard every week.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's do it again.
Let's do it again.
All right, so with that, let me go over kind of where we're at with our picks so far. Get into our Week 9 picks. So I'm going to hook it, and then we'll go on.
Okay, sounds good.
All right. Ugh, that didn't work.
No.
Okay. And I haven't even drank a sip of beer yet, Steve. Just I know our buddy John. I haven't seen him say hi yet. John gets worried about me sometimes. But anyway,
let's do it live.
Let's do it live.
Okay.
All right, we are ready for our Week 9 picks. We went 3-1 last week with our locks, hoping to do at least that good again this week. Real quick, go over where we have been at. This is for the entire season. Steve sitting at 83% on straight picks, 56% on his spread picks, and 62% on his locks. Steve, you and I are very, very similar right now.
It's amazing
how close crazy. We are. 83% for myself on, same as you, on moneyline picks. 58% on spread picks, exactly the same again on locks at 62%. So the averages are really, really easy when you and I are doing the same damn thing.
Yeah.
So money line, 83%, spread picks, 58%, and our big mountain ice cold locks, 62%.
Not bad, but we need to get up to 75.
We're going to keep pulling that sucker up. We had one down week, and I'll tell you, it's so much easier to go down than it is to go up, but we're going to keep going up. So we're going to start with our Big Ten picks. Well, Steve's going to start with his Big Ten picks, and we'll get into the Mountain West picks.
And Anthony says he came back because I didn't go over on my locks last week.
We promised that wasn't going to happen.
Not going to happen again.
You promised that wasn't going to happen.
Absolutely.
So, all right, are you ready for Week 9 in the Big Ten?
Yeah, let's roll right into it. So first game of the week in the Big Ten is Rutgers traveling all the way across the country to the West Coast to play at USC. I'm taking USC minus 13.5. Both of these teams, they're in a similar situation. After a promising start, it's starting to become a little bit disappointing. We've talked about Rutgers and their issues. They're very one-dimensional with just their running game. And USC, again, they have a lot of talent. I think their defense has improved. It definitely was earlier in the season, but they've been racked by both teams have been racked by injuries. Rutgers, both of their defenses have been racked. Rutgers lost their best offensive lineman, and I think their running game has suffered since then. So I'm not going to lock this game. Both of these teams are kind of on tilt at this point a little bit. I think both of them have their problems. Rutgers is coming all the way across the country. I think USC is the more talented team. They're both having issues, sealing the deal, winning games. So I'm just going to take USC to cover the 13.5. I could see them winning by 2 touchdowns just for being the more talented team, being at home, and having Rutgers come all the way over to face them.
I agree. You said it perfectly when you said both of these teams are a bit on tilt right now. Absolutely. And, I would like to think USC wins this game by 2 touchdowns. But I just don't know anymore.
That's why I'm not locking it.
I don't know what they're going to do.
Yeah.
But I agree with you on the pick. I mean, they are the more talented team overall. They're in Southern California at home. And all of that stuff seems to go. So I agree with your pick because you can't. I wouldn't go with Rutgers right now. They have crapped the bed for a couple weeks in a row. But my goodness, it's weird that these two teams are just on such tilt right now.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it is injuries. And again, we said both of the teams had a promising start. I mean, Rutgers came out of the pipe with some racking up some wins. USC had that win against LSU to start the season, but both on tilt. So we'll go with USC to cover the 13.5, but definitely not locking it just because both of these teams, you can't trust either of these teams right now to do. You go either way. So the next game, one I'm really excited about. Washington at Indiana. College game day is going to be there.
Okay.
And I'm taking Indiana to cover the 6.5, and I'm making it our first Big Mountain ice cold lock.
Awesome.
Indiana, they're just on a roll. The line at one point was, I think it was either 10.5 or 11.5. And then, the news came out that Rourke was not going to start. He had hurt his thumb in the first half of the last game. And so the line changed right away. I was already pretty set on, because I wasn't sure if Rourke was going to be there, but I was probably going to lock it at 10 or 11 where it was at. I felt pretty good. I don't really think, I think it's Taven Jackson, I think is the name of the backup. He came in the second half, played great, distributed the ball. And the thing about this Indiana offense is just so balanced. I mean, there's not a weakness on the offense. They're one of the most efficient offenses. They're the high, depending on how you want to look at it, they're the highest scoring offense in the country.
Yeah.
And it's not because of one player, although Rourke has been fantastic. And I think he deserved to be on that Heisman stage. Unfortunately, with this injury, probably not going to happen depending on how many games he misses. But Jackson, I think, can just come in, keep this offense humming. And Washington has been on a good uptrend.
Yeah.
But, we just keep picking Indiana. We keep riding that train. Anthony says there's no weaknesses. I thought their rushing defense might be a weakness, but it really hasn't shown to be that so far. So I'm going to keep going with them, even though I do think Washington is a little bit better than what I thought they would be. But they're coming halfway across the country, 2/3 across the country. And like Spence says, I trust in Kurt Cignetti. You and I both have trusted in Kurt Cignetti since the beginning, before the season even started, and there's no reason to get off that train.
Yeah.
Most exciting team in the country. He's the coach of the year, and I'm just going to keep riding that Indiana Hoosier train. And I love the 6.5 as a lock.
Yeah.
I mean, this is one of the most confident locks I've had all season.
And it's home at Indiana.
Yep.
And you mentioned, I only got to see the beginning part of the Indiana-Nebraska game. Super impressive with what I saw. Apparently it went on throughout the entire game.
Yes.
But even when Rourke went out, you mentioned, is it Jackson? You said
I think it's Jackson. I think it's Taven Jackson. I think is the name of the
He kind of didn't miss a beat.
No.
They kind of just kept doing their thing. And yeah, I mean, they are just well-oiled. I know we got some pushback, or you got some pushback last week on that. You locked them against Nebraska, and oh my gracious, I don't think anybody realized how much of a butt whooping the Cornhuskers were going to get there.
Well, I think we do have 2 or 3 regulars that are Nebraska fans, and Jorgensen. I'm not seeing him tonight. Maybe he's a little salty for Nebraska getting. No, I don't think so. That might have been why I had the little pushback. But as you saw, I mean, was it 55-7? I mean, it was. We could have triple locked it.
It's craziness. It's crazy, and I agree with you. Under the touchdown there, love it.
Absolutely love it. Yep.
Cool. All right, game 3.
Okay. And I'm going heavy on that Indiana pick on my personal bets this week. So just throwing that out there. So game 3 is Nebraska traveling to Ohio State. Nebraska's coming off that butt whooping. I'm actually going to pick, and you may be surprised by this. The line is 25.5. I'm taking Nebraska plus the points. Ohio State is looking. I think they're going to be looking ahead because the next week they play at Penn State. They just announced their left tackle is out for the season. I have full confidence that Ohio State is going to win this game. Oh, there's David Jorgensen.
Yes.
Huskers will be making some coaching changes after the season. Very well could be. But I like Nebraska plus the points this week as a pick, not as a lock, just because it's so many points. I don't think Ohio State will have a lot of motivation to really put the pedal to the metal. I think that, again, they want to be healthy going into that Penn State game. They just lost their left tackle. Their offensive line has not been great. That's only been one weakness so far already for the season.
Okay.
And when you lose your starting left tackle, like that's just not good.
No.
So I don't feel confident enough to lock this, but I do like the pick. I like Nebraska to just play a respectable game after getting their butts kicked.
Yes.
To play, I think they're going to have the motivation to play respectable, not get blown out. So I'm taking them plus the 25.5 points.
You are correct. I'm a little surprised by this. I understand the large spread that it is, but that one did surprise me, and you have another at least one or two that surprised me as well. So you're full of surprises tonight. I mean, it's not that big of a deal. You're not locking it. It's a lot of points.
Yeah.
Take the points. I get it. But yeah, little surprised by that one.
Well, moving to the next one, Maryland at Minnesota. To me, these are two very similar teams. Teams that I was kind of down on coming into the season. They've played a little bit better than my expectations were. And Maryland has gotten some good wins. Minnesota has gotten some good wins.
Yes.
I see this as a coin flip game coming down to a field goal at the end. So nowhere near confident enough to lock, but because I see it as a coin flip game and one team is getting more than 3 points, I'm going to go ahead and take Maryland plus the 4.5. I would not be surprised if either one of these teams wins.
Yeah.
But it just feels like a low-scoring game that comes down to a game-ending field goal to me.
Okay, that makes sense. This one I also was a little bit surprised about, especially being in Mini, as you call them, in Mini.
In Mini.
With Mickey.
Yeah.
But in Minnesota. That one was a little bit of a surprise for me, too, although Maryland has been playing better football than I think many people maybe thought. Though we have had some commenters that have told us that Maryland's maybe not as bad. But, so I really wouldn't pick either one. So.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I don't know if I'll actually pick this game as far as put my own money on it.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
You're not going to bet the game.
I'm not going to bet the game.
And you're not going to bet the Nebraska game. Or are you going to bet the
Actually, I think I did bet that.
Oh,
game.
okay.
I like those. There's just so many points there. I like it. And,
Okay.
So,
all right.
I will say the Maryland, and I can't remember his name now, the Maryland starting quarterback, because we talked a lot about them losing to Leah
Correct,
and losing
yes.
so much of their. There was a couple games where he didn't look so good, but he's been coming on. This last game, he looked really good. He's productive. He's running that offense. So we'll see how it goes.
Yep. Understood.
Okay.
All right, we're going to number 5 here.
Number 5,
Okay.
Northwestern at Iowa. I'm taking Iowa to cover the 13.5. They've been a little bit Jekyll and Hyde this year. A couple weeks ago, they came. Now I can't remember who they beat, but they beat somebody pretty good 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And then had an inexplicable loss that I thought. So they're a little Jekyll and Hyde, but they're at home. I think they're just a better team than Northwestern. Northwestern doesn't do really anything that good. Their second quarterback that they've used this year is a little bit more of he can run around, make some plays with his legs and his feet, but I think the Iowa defense will be able to shut that down. Cade McNamara, Billy Edwards Jr., the quarterback for Maryland.
Yeah, Spence and Anthony both had it. They got you back.
They got me, okay. Yeah. I just see Iowa's offense being able to shut down Northwestern. It's at home. Cade McNamara, you never know. He's Jekyll and Hyde this year. He had a couple good games, and then he probably had the worst game of his career last week. So I think he'll probably be a little better. And if he's not, they'll bring in the backup who will be better. Has got to be better than McNamara was last week. So I'm taking Iowa to cover the 13.5. Man, I would. If this was under 10, I would probably lock it. Like if I could have gotten this at like 9.5, I probably would have locked it.
Yep.
I'm not locking it where it's at. But I do like the pick. I do like them to cover the 13.5.
I agree with you, and I hear you being somewhat close to a lock on this. I can understand that. I understand why you're not at 13.5, but I think that is a solid pick. Northwestern just haven't had that magic this year, and this is at Iowa.
Yeah.
So
it's
a little
Kinnick's not an easy place to play.
Yep. Okay, so you're going Illinois next.
Yeah. So
what are you doing with them?
So Illinois at Oregon, going across the country, going to the West Coast, coming off that big win. I am taking Illinois plus the 21.5.
Ooh.
I feel very confident that Oregon will win this game.
Yeah.
They're a couple weeks ago they had that great win over Ohio State. They traveled then they had to go and travel on a short week to Purdue. Now they're back home. There are a couple things on this. I think Oregon is still without one of their best defensive players. I think they're going to want to get healthy. They have an upcoming trip, I believe, to Michigan coming
Okay.
up. And Illinois, honestly, I don't think Illinois is going to be rattled by playing at Autzen Stadium, going across the country. I don't think Illinois will threaten to win the game. I don't think there'll be any point where like, wow, Illinois is going to beat them. But I think Illinois will just keep it respectable. Use the run game. Altmaier doesn't really get rattled. I mean, Penn State came close to rattling him, but they didn't really totally rattle him. So I think they just keep it respectable. I think they keep it, under 20 points. And I don't know if the lead ever gets over 21.5 at any point.
Sure.
I could see it just staying under 20 points the whole time. So I like that, getting that many points, Illinois plus the 21.5. I'm not confident enough to lock it.
Yeah.
Because Oregon is so talented.
Yeah.
If they really wanted to put their foot to the pedal to the metal, they could win. They could stomp them. But I just don't see them having that motivation to do that after they had those two tough wins, beating Ohio State at home, then having to travel on a short week,
Right.
And they have the upcoming game, and they have so many goals in front of them.
Yeah. Well, and Illinois has an offense too.
Yes,
Beat that spread for sure. So, and your buddy David Jurgensen agrees with the Illini, so he knows his stuff.
yeah, I like it. Just a lot of points.
It is a lot of points. I mean, Illinois is a good team.
Yeah.
I mean, what were they? Number 6 in our power ranking for crying out loud.
They're just a good, solid team. They don't have a lot of weaknesses, and I don't see them getting rattled. They've already played at Penn State. So
Okay.
All right. So the next game number 7. Okay, here we have Michigan State traveling to Michigan. Michigan's coming off that butt whooping by Illinois, sort of butt whooping, half butt
Right.
whooping. I'm taking Michigan State plus the 3.5,
Wow.
and I'm making that another Big Mountain ice cold lock.
Can I just say something?
Yeah.
I'm glad JEH is not in the chat right now.
Oh yeah, he would be going nuts.
We would have
Yeah.
something thrown at us through the screen.
Yeah, and well,
But why do you like Michigan State getting those points?
so this is a little bit about Michigan State and a lot about Michigan. Okay, Michigan State. We said this year was going to be a rebuilding year for them. I like Aiden Childs moving forward in the Big Ten. Over the next couple years. I think he'll make some mistakes, but I think he's gonna score some points.
Yeah.
I think Michigan State will score some points. I like them getting over a field goal. I see this as being a real tight game. It could go either way. I honestly would probably take them. This is one of those where I'm gonna look at the Michigan State money line and look at it probably Friday morning, Friday afternoon, maybe Saturday morning, because I think I actually like Michigan State to win this game, a close game,
In the big house.
straight up in the big house.
Ooh.
Because, and I said this was a lot about Michigan. Michigan, they're just so seriously flawed. I think that they really they put up the good fight early in the season against USC, but they're so one-dimensional on offense.
Yeah.
And teams are figuring out like, hey, if we can stop the run or slow down the run so that it's not just overwhelming, explosive domination, they just don't have any quarterback that can challenge the field at all. Illinois, the way they played defense, they showed they had no respect whatsoever. Tuttle was the quarterback. They had no respect for Michigan's quarterback, and who knows who Michigan's going to trot out this week.
Right.
They might go back to Orgy, but no matter who it is, they are not going to have a passing attack whatsoever. So
You know who I heard might start?
who's that?
Dom Grady.
Okay,
I saw on the internet.
Grady. Okay,
Dom Grady.
All right.
If you know what I'm saying.
Okay, well, that would be a big improvement for sure. But I think Michigan is going to continue to limp through this season, and teams are really figuring out how one-dimensional they are. I think at the beginning of the season, especially with Alex Orgy, they were like, okay, who's this guy? He's obviously a runner. Maybe he can throw. And some of the other quarterbacks they used. But we have Rumbling. Who is that? Rumbling CDS says he wishes nothing but the worst for Jonathan Smith.
He's a Beaver believer.
Yeah, I get it, and I consider myself a Beaver believer as well, and I understand the hate for him, but unfortunately, I think they're going to get the best of Michigan, which this hasn't happened in a while. So, for Michigan State to get the win, this is the year to do it when Michigan is down so bad.
Well, I understand why the Beavs fans, I should say, don't like Jonathan Smith, but let me just say, unfortunately, Rumblings, JEH, Beavs fans, hold your ears. He's a damn good coach.
Yeah, yes.
Damn good coach. So,
he has his team playing ahead of schedule.
absolutely, yes. And I just want to mention real quick, I know you said 3.5. and I told you the line changed to 3.5.
Yes, yeah.
And I made a boo on the slide and kept 4.5.
Okay.
So I do believe Steve's still keeping it a lock.
Yeah,
I did inform
still
him.
like it at 3.5.
What he said at 3.5 was the line a little bit earlier today. So whether you get it at 3.5 or 4.5, Steve likes taking the points with Michigan State and potential money line.
I would consider the money line here. If it's if you can get a good deal on that money line that you like, I'd throw some money on there because I think there's a good chance that they upset Michigan.
Yep. Okay. And I'm anxious to see if Dom Grady is the starting quarterback. Okay, I had to say that one more time. All right, that was Michigan State. So you're at number 8. You're on your Nittany Lions.
Yeah, so after a bye week, Penn State is traveling to Camp Randall Stadium to play at Wisconsin, one of the best venues in the Big Ten. And I'm taking Penn State to cover the 6.5 points, and I'm making that a Big Mountain ice cold lock. And that's my third of the week.
Yeah.
And I don't lock Penn State a lot because I'm always a little bit because I'm a little bit afraid that, my personal bias could be coming into play.
Yeah.
Now, previous years under James Franklin, we've talked about this before, in previous years, James Franklin was one of the best coaches in the country against the spread. We speculated whether he actually looked at the spread and tried to beat it.
Right.
I think that may have been a possibility because he wanted to, not because he cares about bettors, but because he wanted to beat expectations. They've done a little different this year. Their offense is with Andy Koldenicki is a little different. They haven't been so much worried about the score, more just exploring this offense, doing all kinds of crazy things. The line, I think, is way too small. Wisconsin has been coming on a little bit lately, but I just think Penn State is just too strong of a team. They're just a better team. Coming off of the bye, they were able to get their running backs healthy. That was a big thing. Nick Singleton was banged up a little bit lately.
Okay. When
When you look at Drew Aller's numbers, quietly, he has put up numbers that are on par with the last 3 quarterbacks to win the Heisman Trophy. They still haven't maybe challenged the deep field, challenged those long vertical passes as much as you'd like to see.
Okay.
But he's playing great. The offense is playing great. They're doing everything really well. The defense is still really solid. So I feel really good. I think Penn State wins this game by double digits. So I love them at 6.5, and that's why I made it a Big Mountain ice cold lock.
Izzy likes the over. I know our buddy Chris likes some over-unders.
Yeah.
So Izzy's throwing one out there, likes the over in this one also. Bill says Penn State by 28, and I'm with you at 6.5. You got to love this as a lock. I'm totally with you on that. And our buddy Bill is also throwing one out for JEH. We're missing him tonight.
Okay.
He is one of our top mountain dwellers. A few of our top mountain
OG.
dwellers, which is fine. They're allowed to miss some live eps because we all have lives. But Bill's pouring one out for him. He gave us a go Beavs just because for JEH.
I think JEH knew I was going to lock Michigan State, and he just couldn't handle that.
He didn't want to hear that come out of your mouth.
Yeah.
He's going to put soap in that mouth.
So that was my last Big Ten game, and the next game you probably should close your ears,
dude.
because you're. I
told you there's some games I disagree with.
Yes, yeah.
I'll let you talk, and then I am gonna.
Yeah,
I'm gonna have at you.
I'm gonna keep going with it. Florida State at Miami. It's a 20.5 point line. I'm taking Florida State plus the points. I think this is a closer game. I know. There's a lot of people that are like, oh, well, Florida State just keeps losing. If you looked at that game last week against Duke, they held Duke, I think, to like 130 yards. Every metric that you look at, they should have beaten Duke. They lost. It's okay, whatever. I'm taking them plus the points. I think Miami, for 2 reasons, is Florida State has underperformed. I think at a certain point, they're going to perform to their talent level. And I think Miami is the converse of that. I think they're due for a little bit of a slip up. This is an emotional rivalry game. So I'm taking Florida State plus the points, and I don't care.
Clearly you don't care. And I'm going to say, Steve. I don't understand why you keep going back to the well. I don't understand.
Yeah.
But you can do whatever you want to do, but I sure as hell wouldn't do it. I hear what you're saying about Miami. I get that side of it, but there is zero faith. I don't care what the stats say about Duke. They still lost to freaking Duke. No.
Well, Duke is, 7-1 this year?
Yeah, they're okay.
Manny Diaz, last year's Penn State defensive coordinator.
I understand. But You're right. I'm going to just not listen to you when you
Yeah.
pick this damn Florida State team for the rest of the season because I hate it.
And on the
hate the
record,
pick.
to correct the record, I have picked against Florida State this year.
I do want to update your stats if we take Florida State out because, and not about picking with or for or against them.
Right.
Your Big Ten picks would be better than your stats.
Yes.
Florida State has screwed you.
They have. So
Way more than they have helped
I'm
you.
chasing that the Seminole turn.
They're the Hawaii game for you.
Yes,
They're the
exactly.
Hawaii midnight game. You're chasing that bet.
Like Rumbling Bird says, Miami plays down, and if you look at their games this year,
Yeah.
they do. They play down. I think was it the Cal game? They barely beat them. Exactly, Anthony. Miami has been winning, but by the hair of their teeth, man. If you got hair, well, if you got skin or hair on your teeth, that's rough. But and no, Big Mama 69. I am not locking FSU.
I think I brushed this one. I
Okay,
think I'm
good.
okay. Check out Spence's though.
Yeah, he says, did Steve get NIL money from FSU?
I think that's a great one. I think that's hilarious. Couple things I want to mention. Going back up real quick. So that's it for the Big Ten.
That's it for the Big
You
Ten.
got three ice cold locks. I love all of them. I of course love Indiana and Penn State. Those are the two that I absolutely love. I'll go with you on Michigan State. I don't really know either way. I think what I did want to say about Michigan though is I think they're true. Shall I say true colors? That might be. I think people still had them being the Michigan of old.
You had to give them that respect.
And you
They're
had to
defend-
give them
yeah,
that respect.
yeah.
And who they truly are is kind of and the opposing teams are seeing who they truly are. To your point about there was no respect for a passing
Absolutely.
game, and that's not good for them in the second half of the season. But I did want to bring up two things. So I believe it was Izzy that asked about the Notre Dame and was it Notre Dame and Navy? I guess bets got voided on somewhere. I don't think it was DraftKings, she said. So I have no idea why that would be. That's very rare that they do that. But if anybody can help with the Notre Dame Navy game. And then Anthony did say he got 4 points when we were talking the Michigan State between 4.5 and 3.5. He did get 4 points. I will say we always use the FanDuel. We don't say this very much, but we always use the FanDuel.
Because we're not sponsored, so we don't.
We're not.
Yeah,
when
yeah.
when FanDuel sponsors us, we'll
Then
put a
we will.
logo on the
Yeah.
damn screen. But until that happens, I shouldn't even mention them.
Right.
No, but seriously, we use the FanDuel lines, and FanDuel lines never have even numbers like that. I'm guessing Anthony must do DraftKings or some other platform because FanDuel is always halves. Like I don't say never. I
I don't know if
almost
I've ever
never
seen them.
see straight numbers on FanDuel. It's always a half number. So
Because who wants a push? I mean,
well, push is better than a loss.
yeah, that's true.
But anyway, so Anthony, let us know if what app you're using or what bet site you're using.
I do want to stress on the Michigan State. My official pick and lock is Michigan State plus 3.5 because I pick every game against the spread. But I do think for those of you who want to bet this game, I want to stress again that I think you should seriously consider the money line because it's such a low spread.
Yeah.
And I think there's a good chance that Michigan State upsets them. So just look at that money line. If you can get a good some juice on that thing, then squeeze it.
Ooh, you could go someplace else with
Yeah.
that. So, all right, that is it. We're going to get into the Mountain West, and then Steve, at the end of this, I'm going to show the awesome map that you gave all of our viewers and us last week. I've updated it for the Mountain West. We're going to end with that, but I'm going to get into the picks first. So, I'm not going to start with the biggest game. I'm going to save it to last.
Okay.
I'm not going to squeeze. What do you call it?
Don't
I'm not going
squeeze
to
the juice.
squeeze the juice until the end.
Okay.
So Boise State, UNLV will be the last game that I pick.
right.
So I'm going to start then with New Mexico versus Colorado State.
I want to say something before you go
Okay.
to about that game.
Which game?
Oh, the
Boise
you're gonna
game.
Wait, I'm going to say this game is. I'm going to declare something. The most important game of the year
Yeah.
when it comes to who gets into the college football playoff.
Yeah.
Because most of the teams from the power conferences, they can handle a loss or whatever.
Yeah.
But this to me is the most consequential game of the year for who gets into the college football playoff. And that's a huge testament to the Mountain West and
Yes.
these two teams, but also the changed landscape of going to 12 teams,
Right.
and giving teams from the Mountain West and these
For
other
sure.
G conferences a real fighting chance to get in.
Well, and that's why this game. Let's talk about that game when we get to that.
Okay, all right, okay.
I mean,
just had
that-
to say.
I
had to
just,
say.
and we talk about that on the preview.
Yeah.
That's why this game's getting national attention.
Yes.
Pate, your buddy,
Yeah.
Josh Pate,
Yeah.
is going to be at the game.
Right.
Everybody's talking about this game because not only because it's going to be a great game, but because it has CFP
Yes.
implications.
Yes.
Why is that not a good thing? I'm gonna get off my soapbox.
Yeah.
Let's get back to our picks.
Tommy Gunn agrees with us.
We can get on that soapbox at the end. So New Mexico versus Colorado State. I am taking the Lobos plus 6.5. I love taking the points, and I love it so much. It's my first Big Mountain ice cold lock. I love everything about this offense. They cannot be stopped. I bet against them last week, and I said I don't want anything to do with it against USU. It's going to be a high-scoring game. The only thing we were kind of sure about was the over, which hit.
Yes.
They went over that, and I don't see Colorado State offensively keeping up with the New Mexico offense. They can't do it.
I have to say, I have to give you some credit here.
Okay.
I listen to a lot of different college football podcasts.
Okay.
A lot is focused on betting. And every prognosticator, every talking head, every expert out there
Oh, crap.
picked the under on that game.
Stupid.
And as far as I know, you are the only betting prognosticator in the country that took the over, and you freaking nailed it.
Okay. First of all, thank you very, very much, but I don't think that's probably the case.
Well,
But we, and we said both of them in the 40s. We said, but I don't really want to talk about that.
Yes.
We were right. We hit it. I don't think Colorado State can keep up with the New Mexico offense.
I agree.
Let's see. CSU has surprised me. They are tough on defense. Yes, they are for sure. But this Dampier kid is, he should be getting some national attention for how good he is. And yes, New Mexico's defense isn't that great, but they went up against USU that has a very high-powered passing offense, and they just outscored them. And by the end of the game, because New Mexico scored so many points, mind you, they have scored 50 or more points in 3 straight games. That's how good this freaking offense is. 50 or more points in 3 straight games. They don't need to score 50. If they can score 40, they win the game. New Mexico's getting the points.
Yeah.
I love this lock. I will be betting the Lobos, obviously, because I'm locking it. And I think this is a very tough test for Colorado State. And Colorado State doesn't have Horton anymore. And their passing game has been rough this year. I mean, they have not had a good passing offense. So we'll see what happens, but I really love the Lobos getting the points. You talked about a money line bet with Michigan State.
Mm-hmm.
If you're willing, maybe throw a little sprinkle of money on the Lobos to win this sucker straight up. I really like the Lobos. Just a sprinkle.
Yeah.
All right, next one. Utah State versus Wyoming. I'm going to take Utah State minus 1.5. This is a pick'em game. I get it. It's a good spread. I understand why it's a pick'em game. But I'm going to do the same thing with this pick like I did with the last pick. Wyoming's offense is not going to keep up with Utah State's offense. And Wyoming's defense is not the Pokes defense of the last few years. I just think Utah State's going to outscore Wyoming in this game. Yes, Whaley is back for the Pokes, but it's his first game of the season. I don't know what that's going to look like. They have said they're going to use 2 quarterbacks in this game, both Svoboda and Anderson. So there's a lot of just question marks on the Pokes right now, especially on the offensive side. They're getting their star running back in this game. They're going to potentially be using 2 quarterbacks. So it's a tough one. I'm not betting this game, just like I didn't bet it last week. I didn't bet the Utah State game last week. I did bet the Wyoming game. But anyway.
Yeah.
So it's a pick'em game. I don't really want anything to do with it, but I do think Utah State just has too much offense. And I think they win this game. So that's where I'm at.
I want to make a declaration. I don't want to diss your Cowpokes too much, but I will say I think this coaching staff has completely mismanaged their quarterback situation this year, and that's all I'm going to say.
Okay. We may have talked about that before.
Yeah.
Yes. All right.
JH, he's late to the party, but he's here. It's good. JH, don't go back and watch my Michigan State pick because you're not going to like it. So just stay here where JY talks about Mountain West and all the good West Coast football.
That's right. So we're going to Fresno State versus San Jose State. I'm taking San Jose State getting 5.5 points. I certainly wouldn't have done that in the preseason because I was way down on San Jose State. But Fresno's really struggled here. Yes, they just beat Nevada, but it was a very close game. San Jose State's offense is starting to struggle a bit, but I don't think it's the team. I think it's the daggone, we've talked about this, the daggone coach putting in different quarterbacks. But if this is going to be a high-scoring game, again, give me the Spartans here. The FSU, or Florida State, FSU, yeah. Fresno State's offense is just sputtering a bit. I know a lot of Bulldogs fans are turning a little bit on Mikey Keene. He's not overly mobile. He doesn't run. He's really not a running quarterback at all. And they don't have much of a running game. So I like this game. I like getting the points. So two of my first three here, I'm taking dogs, but I like getting the points in those games.
You know, it's the Battle of the Valley, right? I think that's what they call it.
Yeah.
You know, I've thought about that San Jose State situation and what they've been kind of rotating quarterbacks. And it was that offense was running so good and then they just like decided, hey, let's try and screw it up. And I really wonder, and I'm a big fan of Coach N, you know, his leadership at the Naval Academy, whatever, but he's never had to manage a passing game offense.
True.
And so I just have some questions there. I have some concerns, I'll say there.
Well, we'll see. I still think they have a very good offense. Hopefully it kind of gets going again. And I don't think Fresno can keep up with them if it does. So that's my pick. Number 4 here, we've got Washington State, the only one-loss Washington State, versus San Diego State. The line here, 14.5, and I am taking Washington State minus 14.5 with my second Big Mountain ice-cold lock. Way too much offense. I keep talking about offense. I'm like a freaking broken record here so far. Way too much offense from Washington State. I mean, at some point, I think that's going to break a little bit. I mean, they're just riding Mateer so hard. But, man, San Diego State, and I know we've got some people that think I'm a San Diego State hater, but these are just two different teams at two different points in where they're at. San Diego State's trying to kind of figure things out a little bit. They do have a decent defense. They struggle on offense. I don't think they can keep up with Washington State here at all. So I'm taking the Cougs. I would absolutely love this, obviously, under that 2 touchdowns at 13.5. But I think they rock and roll here. I mean, they creamed Hawaii last week, and the Hawaii-San Diego State game was very, very close. So I see no reason why Washington State doesn't just roll.
I think the Cougs are a very solid team. You know, when you look at their resume, they had that one loss to Washington, which was at they beat Washington.
They beat Washington.
The one loss to Boise. Yeah. They beat Washington. They had that one loss to Boise, who now is looking like a college football playoff team.
Right.
You know, you don't want to use the transitive property too much, but Washington State, they lose to Boise, and Boise's only loss is to the number 1 team in the country. I love your pick, and I'm the Cougs, man. They've been so much fun to watch. Mateer has been a lot of fun to watch. I don't know what their ceiling is. I don't know if they can actually compete for a college football playoff spot, but they're just playing well and they're fun to watch.
Agreed. All right, let's get to game number 5. Nevada going to the islands of Hawaii. And the line here, again, almost a pick 'em, minus 1.5. But I got to go with Nevada. I can't pick Jekyll and Hyde. You've got me on this Jekyll and Hyde thing. They do always play better at home than they do, obviously, on the mainland. But Nevada's just a solid team. They're figuring out how to win. I mean, they're winning close games. They were close there with Fresno State. Fresno State is an overall better team than what Hawaii is. So I got to take the Wolfpack here. They're only giving 1.5 points. So, again, it's a kind of a pick'em game. But I'm going to go with the Pack. I just like where they're at here. And Nevada's too hot and cold. They're too Jekyll and Hyde for me. So.
Hawaii's too. Yeah.
Hawaii, what did I say?
You said Nevada, but yeah.
Oh, yeah. Hawaii's too Jekyll and Hyde.
I like the pick. I like Nevada's offense this year. I think they're a team on the rise. And I would pick against Hawaii in like all 12 time zones that touch the United States. So.
So we agree on that one, even though we disagreed on your FSU.
Yes.
All right, so going to the next one, Cal versus Oregon State, a game of 2 old PAC members. The line here is 9.5. All of our friends that are Beavs fans are not going to like JY because I am taking Cal. I mean, yes, Cal is 3-4. They lost by 1 point to Miami. They lost to 1 point by North Carolina State. They lost to 2 points by Pitt. I mean, their games have been uber close. They can show that they can score. Oregon State still has just some defensive problems, although they showed up really, really well against UNLV. I'm going to take Cal here minus 9.5. You don't like it.
I don't like to go against you, especially.
Well, I went against you a couple times.
I really don't like to go against you when you're picking Mountain West teams, but these are basically two.
Yeah,
really,
these
basically two
are
PAC
PAC teams, so you can say whatever you want. It's like your FSU pick.
I think Oregon State. I think the Beavs. I think they're a good, solid team. I think they've been underestimated a little bit. I have this game more of as a pick 'em, honestly.
Ooh.
So I probably, if I was picking this game, I would take OSU plus the points.
It is a decent number of points.
Yeah.
I just think Cal's the better team, and they're going to roll here pretty good. So we shall see. We shall see. But certainly, I mean, if there's any sort of intangibles here, the Beavs want to beat one of the teams that left them in the dirt. Absolutely. So the intangibles lie with the Beavs, 100%. All right, last one, the one that certainly I know our buddy Tommy Gunn has been waiting for. I think everyone has been waiting for. Boise versus UNLV. Tommy Gunn will not like my pick. I am taking the Boise State Broncos minus 3.5. This is going to be, I think, a very, very good game. I think it's going to be close. I don't think it's going to be close enough for UNLV to cover this spread. Of course, since I'm taking Boise at minus 3.5, I think they're going to win the game. Yeah. But I got to be honest with you. I kind of even hate to pick this because I just want to watch the game to enjoy the game for what it is. The best G6 game that we will see in the country this year. CFP implications. They've added more seats. They're sitting people up in the 200 level, or I don't know what they call it there at Allegiant Stadium. Mm-hmm. Everything's getting sold out from the recruiting section sold out. The student section sold out. They're adding more parking. They're doing, I mean, it's just phenomenal. Again, I'm picking Boise minus 3.5. I think overall they have more talent. But we did a preview show that'll come out tomorrow about a lot of reasons why UNLV could win this game. And I'll give a little bit of reasons right now. Number one, special teams. Their special teams, both in terms of blocking punts, punt and kick returns, huge deficit for Boise versus UNLV. The other thing I will say, turnovers. Boise cannot turn the ball over. If Boise's going to turn the ball over a few times, massive swing to UNLV. We talked about this in the episode. UNLV's ratio is 12, a positive 12 in turnovers. Boise right now is 1. It's a huge difference to me. The special teams, the turnovers, and then the offensive line of Boise State are the three key things to this game. If Boise's offensive line can do what they've kind of done, get Genty his yards, protect Maddox Madsen so he can be consistent, they'll be fine. If that O-line struggles early on, UNLV will win this game. But like I said, I just want to enjoy the game for what it is. I can't wait for 10:30 Eastern on Friday night. I need to drink a 5-hour energy. Yeah. Although I'm going to be so keyed up, I won't fall asleep till like 5 a.m. So
I've decided after work on Friday, I'm going to try and take like a 3-hour nap.
Okay.
Just so I can stay up because I'm getting to that point in my life. But I want to say, I do want to reiterate a few things. Hey, I'm with you. I'm not even gonna bet any money on this game because I just want to be able to enjoy it, and I don't want to be thinking about my bet. Like, who do I want to know? I just want to know who wins the game, see how they play.
Yeah.
The other thing is, I want to reiterate my other point. I truly believe at this point in the season, this is the most important game to who goes into the college football playoff of the year. In the Big Ten and the SEC, that Oregon and Ohio State game. Let's not kid ourselves. Both of those teams are 90% chance are getting in. It really didn't matter who won the game as far as getting into the playoff. It did for winning the Big Ten. But this game, to me, other than maybe we'll see what happens in the Big 12, maybe a Big 12 championship game could be right there.
Yeah.
But other than that, this is the most important game for the college football playoff this year. And if without expanding to 12, we would have never had anything like this.
Right.
This game would be, have half of the excitement that it has.
Yeah.
Both of these teams with one loss would have been just completely eliminated, not even talked about, unfortunately. I want to talk quickly about you. Well, first of all, Boise, I think, has the best player in the country.
Yes.
So
Genty for Heisman.
Genty for Heisman.
I forgot to say that on the preview.
Yeah.
I felt bad when we ended. I'm like, Steve wasn't here to say Genty for Heisman. My bad.
UNLV, I want to say about UNLV, well, you've been on UNLV since the very, very beginning of the season, so kudos to you. Before, into the preseason, you were on them, as basically saying they were right there with Boise as the contenders for the Mountain West. But I also want to say, their only loss, they have a really good out-of-conference schedule. Mm-hmm. Their only loss was to that Syracuse team where McCord, who was having a great season, played out of his mind in that game. And since then, UNLV has changed their quarterback situation and has a really dynamic quarterback. So they're a different team than they were even early in the season when they were still getting wins out of conference. So to me, they're a more dangerous team now. So I think somebody said they were surprised that the point spread was that low. I'm not surprised. I think the point spread is right there. I think it's a good point spread. I agree with you. I think Boise wins, and I think they probably cover. But I would be shocked if this is a blowout by Boise.
I would too.
I think it's a close win by either team. A less than 5-point win by either team.
Yeah, I would be. I'll be shocked if it's a blowout either way. And we've got some over/under talk here. Tommy Gunn says, and I didn't look, but he says it's 65. That sounds right to me. I think that's about where it should be. I mean, I think both teams are likely right, 30 to 35. So I think the 65 over/under. I see somebody asking it should be 150. No, UNLV's defense is damn good. And so I think they're going to sell out ish to stop Genty. They're going to want to try to make Maddox Madsen kind of beat them, put it in his hands to do so. But man, they've got some studs on UNLV's defense. And I'm just anxious for this. I'm really excited for this game.
And the converse to what you just said about UNLV, what they're going to want to do, I could see Boise wanting to really focus on the run, establish the run, and maybe not have as many of those big breakaway plays. And honestly, they may want to protect Madsen, who could be a liability. I don't want to be too hard on him because he's done a good job this year.
He has.
But against this UNLV defense who is ball hawking, he sometimes can make boo-boos, and he could be a liability. So I could see Boise's strategy being, even if they're slowing Genty down, we're going to keep going to the run game, which could keep the scoring low.
It could. I think Maddox only has 2 interceptions on the year.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens. I think it's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
So excited for
Game of the year.
So the only other thing I wanted to mention, and I don't have a slide for this, but I was looking. We do other picks every so often. With all the picks that we have this year, I haven't done too many other picks. But I will say, Eastern Michigan, if for all of our Maction people, our Maction fans, Eastern Michigan is playing Akron. And the line is only 2.5. And let me just say the Zips are not very zippy. And I really like Eastern Michigan at minus 2.5. Only giving up 2.5. So if you're interested in some action, take a look at Eastern Michigan minus 2.5. I just want to throw that out there.
Okay.
All right. So that is our picks for week 9. We had 5 Big Mountain ice cold locks. And, we're going to try to hit them all. We did that a few weeks ago. We went 6-0 a couple weeks ago. So 5-0. We're going to try to do our best and do that. So with that, last thing I want to do is just show a little bit more of the wonderful map that we put forward last week. We're going to throw this up. So I was able to discover that Sam Houston State, was actually the Mountain West went to them, asked if there was any interest. They said no. I put that out on X. I did an episode on that. Sam Houston is not interested in moving to the Mountain West right now. There's a lot of different reasons. Quite frankly, I think they just want to take their breath. I mean, they've been moving around a lot. They kind of have said they weren't quite ready to move to FBS, even though they are in an FBS conference. So they're just kind of happy where they're at right now. I mean, they say they want to help build Conference USA. Okay, that sounds good because that's where you're at. I think they just need a breath, and I don't think they're ready, honestly, to move anywhere right now. So that's where they are. We had to take them off the map. So the other schools that I have added to the map, Steve, I added Toledo because we've heard about Toledo before. I didn't have them on before, but we did hear, early on about Gloria Nevarez talking to the commissioner of the MAC about both NIU and Toledo being football-only members. So I have added them here. I think it is important to point out, they are close enough to that Detroit market. And so, yeah, it does make some sense there. I kind of struggle with the whole Eastern time zone. Are they going too far with them? I get the NIU piece. I struggle a little bit more with the Toledo piece, but we shall see. Of course, I keep Tarleton there. To me, if they won in Texas, that's probably their shot. We know Sam Houston isn't interested. We know Texas State has said no. Yes, people say, can they go back and talk to Texas State? I guess you're hearing some buzz that Texas State might be the next one up with the PAC at this point. So I don't think Texas State is at all likely at this point for the Mountain West. So if they're interested in Texas, other than UTEP, which we say that's half southern New Mexico, Tarleton might be their focus. It came out today, and I saw a lot of people asking about Grand Canyon University, especially for their basketball teams. They have actually made the 23 of the last 4 years. We're not basketball people. I don't follow that. That was surprising to me. I'm like, wow, 3 or 4 years. That's pretty damn good.
Yeah, it was not surprising to me because
Okay.
I've seen, I think maybe I generally follow the tournament more than you do.
Yes.
You follow the Mountain West teams, but that's about it. But they have been in the tournament a bunch. They've been a name, a kind of a force in college basketball.
Yeah, so I have added them. It came out today from somebody I kind of take with a grain of salt, Mr. Brett McMurphy. I think he posts things from other places. He stole my stuff from Sam Houston, but I won't get into that. And we have some Sam Houston being like, we know about this for a while. I'm like, well, you're the only people that knew about it because ain't nobody else knew that your AD said that. They do now. But anyway, McMurphy put out the whole Grand Canyon thing, and I saw a lot of people kind of questioning that. Like, hey, could this be a market or a school that they could be going after? We heard Gloria Navarez mention just last week at the media days, basketball is high on their radar. It makes sense that if they're going to go after a football-only school, that they probably get a school to kind of pair them with. So could this be like a combo of deal of like an NIU football only with a Grand Canyon? That makes sense. And Grand Canyon gets you into that Arizona market. That's not a state that we really talked about because we didn't see any football schools that were able to be had there.
Right.
But man, Grand Canyon's close enough to Phoenix. It gets them into that market. Could be a great ad. So we'll see what happens. So I did add them to the list. You'll see them down there again with that yellow circle. For those that saw our show last week, I still have NIU with the yellow circle, of course, Tarleton with the yellow circle, and I added Toledo as well. So to me, these are kind of the top of the list right now. Yes, there's others, but I think these are at the top of the list.
Well, a few thoughts.
Yeah.
When the PAC added Gonzaga, there was Grand Canyon got floated along with St. Mary's,
right.
as other potential basketball members for the PAC.
Yeah.
Which that could have been Grand Canyon floating their own name.
Sure, it could have.
And nothing has gone that way, so I wouldn't be surprised. Honestly, I would not be surprised at all if Grand Canyon had interest in being a basketball member in the Mountain West, and we'll see if the Mountain West is interested. Because I think, from what I understand, a lot of money has been invested in that program, and they want to climb, they want to, they want to ascend. Okay?
That's right.
Yes,
at the peak.
Exactly.
Yeah.
My other thought is, if, and you and I have kind of disagreed a little bit whether we think there's a whole thing about that there's a pause maybe on bringing any FCS schools up. But if in fact, if that's what's holding the Tarleton, I don't know what's holding up Tarleton. But if whatever's holding up the Tarleton, if they can, and you and I talked about this off camera, if they can get NIU as a football only member, that gives them 9 football members, correct? Which gives them an 8. They can play 8 game season.
Right.
Go to market with that.
Right.
And you can still, a year from now, look and see what happens with conference realignment, what happens with Conference USA if the AAC gobbles up some more of their teams. But you can wait, you can go to market with that, and I think that'd be very marketable if they can get NIU. I mean, that's a big, obviously an if at this point, but I think that'd be a very attractive way to go to market. And you can keep Tarleton State as a maybe. You can keep Sac State as a maybe.
Yes.
And I'm not 100% willing to totally write off Sam Houston. You and I have talked about this.
Right.
everything. When I went back and I read your post and different things, it's for Sam Houston. I take that as we don't want to do that right now.
Oh yeah, for sure. Right.
Who knows? In a year or 2
Yes.
years, the landscape may change. So if they can get an NIU right now, I say go with that. It doesn't really matter to me if they get Grand Canyon for basketball or not.
Right.
I'm focused on football personally. But if they can get NIU and football, have 9 members, play 8 games, I think that's a fantastic way to go to market. And they don't have to stop looking at those Texas schools and those other schools. They can consider those another year or two down the road.
That's true. The other thing I wanted to point out with Grand Canyon is they are just moving next year to the West Coast Conference, and I've seen some people ask, well, would they want to leave the West Coast Conference? Well, if the West Coast Conference loses Gonzaga, which they're going to be doing, and possibly St. Mary's, which is a little bit of smoke happening right now, is that really where they want to be if they then can join the Mountain West? So there's a lot going on here, a lot of what ifs, and we'll see what happens. But Grand Canyon does make sense. It gets a great market for the Mountain West, and we'll see what happens. I think they're going to be either West Coast, or if the Mountain West can get them, they probably will.
We did talk about Arizona at one point a while back on one of the episodes. I can't remember the name of the school that's oh boy, like I called it almost a community college. There was a school. We did look at the Arizona market a little bit.
Northern Illinois. Or Northern Arizona.
Northern Arizona, I think. Yeah, that was it.
Northern Illinois and Arizona.
Yeah.
No, Northern Arizona was the one that we did kind of look at. Yeah. And so the only other thing I wanted to then mention here, and I think JEH brought it up, that the Beavs and the Cougs did put out their completed 2025 schedule today. There is a home and home between the two.
That's interesting.
I have opinions that I'm going to keep in my head, although I did put them on X.
Okay.
They're not very positive to the Beavs and the Cougs. But they did get it out. We did get an episode put out. What was it? Tuesday? Yesterday? No, wait. Yeah, yesterday.
Yeah.
Right before they, of course, released. They knew we were going to do that, of course. So we'll have to take a look at them and do an episode on that as well. And, of course, we're waiting to see what happens with media with both the Mountain West and the Pac-12.
It looks like Anthony he's setting himself up as the Mountain Dweller bookie for those who are not in states that can bet. I think that might be what's going down here.
Well, I asked him earlier about what site he uses.
Okay.
And apparently FanDuel is not available in Texas.
That's a travesty.
It is. I like FanDuel. I'm a FanDuel guy. Yeah. And I haven't been paid to say that. So anyway. Well, we did get our buddy, that college football guy. He did mention, he put on there my nickname for Mr. Brett McMurphy. I call him McSmokescreen. Yeah. That's my nickname for him. Kind of teasing a little bit, I guess. But, all right, we got a couple more here. Second Pac-12. JY, hold no ill will to the pack. Yeah, I'm trying. I wore my shirt. He did give me a nice little shout out. I gotta wear. I mean, we got a gift from a dweller. I gotta wear the damn thing.
I think JEH. I think all Beavs fans understand the sometimes emotional.
Yeah.
They can understand being on the rough side of an emotional event happening.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, that is it I wanted to kind of update the map. Since we talked about that, we kind of know Sam Houston's most likely out for now. Mm-hmm. And we've heard some new news about GCU, so we put that in there. And then some people say, you keep beating that Tarleton drum. And I'm like, yeah, because it hits all the marks that I want for the Mountain West. That's why I keep beating the Tarleton drum.
I say we leave that mug on the freaking map until it officially somebody says it's not happening.
I'm down. Tommy Gunn, I agree with you. I do need a UNLV shirt. I haven't gotten one yet. I did order a few, so I'm going to be getting some new merch for other Mountain West schools. 2 more Mountain West schools that will continue to be in the Mountain West, and one of the new Mountain West schools, which there's only one right now because Hawaii is a Mountain West school. So I got some UTEP merch coming. I'm excited. I got some minor stuff happening. So, but you're right. I need some UNLV stuff. I got to get on that.
One of our Broncos fans, he's asking, where is Tarleton State? That's in the Fort Worth area, right?
It's just kind of south. Yeah, south. Be southwest of Fort Worth.
Definitely in that Dallas-Fort Worth market.
Steventown.
Yeah.
Steven something.
Like
yeah. But yes, Texas. So yeah, with that, hey, we thank you guys for watching. Make sure you like this if you didn't already. And another real quick thing, we thank you, producer, for reminding me. In November, actually starting next week, we have to shift our live shows to Thursday evenings. So no more Wednesday evenings for the next about 3 or 4 weeks. We're going to have to do Thursday evenings. I'll put out some reminders to make sure everybody knows this. But we will be doing Thursday evening, same time, same place, aka channel.
Just a different channel. Day. Same place, same great channel.
Same great channel. But we're going to be doing Thursdays. So JY has some hockey stuff to do with his son, and that's just what I'm going to do.
Hey, Thursdays are just as good as Wednesdays.
Yeah, okay. So anyway, make sure you mark your calendars, put it on your whatevers. Make sure you remember Thursday, and especially when you go, where the heck is JY and Steve? It's Wednesday night. And then you'll be like, oh, that's right, it's on Thursdays. But we'll put some reminders out as well. So, hey, with that, like this one. You guys already subscribed. We appreciate all the chatter in the chat. We'll see you guys next time on the Big Mountain.